There's so much debate in our specialty about compression and whether compression is a real thing. And listening to your lecture a couple weeks ago, you dove into compression specifically occurring more commonly in places like the chin and the nose. And it's not that it necessarily causes tissue breakdown, but it can cause this sustained erythema due to that microvascular compression and those tissue pressure changes, right? So how do we as providers identify or distinguish between compression and a true occlusion?
So from my experience, in fact, I'll back up, because when I first started learning about this, I heard from people, and I did read a couple of studies that had talked about filler being round a vessel, and you can look at it doesn't compress the vessel, you can push down on main arterial vessels and you're not compressing them down, and I think that's true. The gel is not going to do that, but the model that we need to consider is different. So we talked about the smaller vessels towards the surface of the skin they're physiologically different, they're physically different. So these can compress, and we see that when we have pressure ulcers, we can compress these smaller vessels near the surface. So if we take areas of the face like the chin and the nasal tip where the tissue is just a lot tighter, we don't have the give that we have in the lips or the mid-face. And what I see in practice and what we get reported in is sort of persistent red nasal tips, or a really sort of red chin where you have a brisk capillary refill time rather than delayed. So the tissue looks very pink. So the first thing is, when there's significant ischemia, the tissue doesn't look pink. The tissue is not perfused.
Right, it's
usually
blanched.
usually the history is you've put a significant amount of filler in a tight compartment, and now the tissue is quite pink. And usually that resolves, and if it persists, you've got to think about, do I want to dissolve it or do some vascular laser to take the redness? But I think when it comes down to whether you should dissolve or not, I always default to the clinical signs in the skin. Ischemia presents in a very predictable way. The reticulation appears, you have a few pustules that turn up, you have that kind of hemorrhaging into the tissue. If it's particularly bad, the tissue looks very pale or grey, and you've got to be careful if you have a patient that's got a skin of colour, because you don't see those early signs. The first thing you'll see is those little pustules. So if you're able to see the reticulation and the little pustules, that's what you're looking out for. So clinically, it looks different. So I think that if you've just got a bit of redness with a brisk capillary refill time in those sort of key areas, I would just monitor. And if any pustules appear, I dissolve it. So that's what I would do. I would monitor the clinical signs in the skin. And I think that if we think of just ischemia in general, if we have got filler into a vessel and we have caused a flow issue, you do get swelling in the tissue, and you will get some compression because you get swelling in the tissue. Right. So I think there's an element of just general compression that can happen that can probably worsen ischemia if you've got an intravascular problem. And that's why in my protocol, I advise some prednisolone whilst you're still fighting the battle when you're trying to reperfuse. And that's also why hyperbaric oxygen also works so well. It's not just about oxygen perfusion in, but it's also about it's an anti-inflammatory, hyperbaric oxygen. So that also reduces the inflammation and helps with perfusion as well. So I think it's about, to go back to your question, you've got to watch the clinical symptoms on the skin to see whether or not things are deteriorating and what the skin is showing you.